Whew. Morning, people. Let's have a check up on the time. 11:24, Sunday the 26th of July, AD, Anno Domini. We're not in BC anymore. We're in AD. Now, must have been something pretty spectacular to happen, mustn't it? To go from BC to AD. One event changed our time period. Unbelievable. Luke Allen. Oi. Right, so listen, morning you sugar lumps. Lovely to see you. I've been very physical this morning. I've been like Olivia Newton-John. Let's get physical. As you can see, the bag's still swinging. It's freaking a few people out. It's because I'm knocking the granny out of it. I pretend that's Boris Johnson. Yeah, every day I'm in here giving it some wallop. Only joking, Bojo. Only joking. I'm non-violent. I'll keep myself in shape though, especially with everything that's going down. So look, I've got a friend of mine who's asked me to put a bit of a shout out. Sheffield News. We've got some new news coming in this morning. Seen in Page Hall where police turn up after a big brawl among the Roma community. Oh, but Jesus, I see it. But there's a little fight going on down here, see. Oh, but Jesus, I come and knock your grandmother out. See, what'd you say about my mother? What do you mean? What do you mean, my mother? Don't talk about my mother. I love him, don't you? Just love him. Listen, I'll Roma, as in the Romanians. Not the Romans. I do apologise. I don't want no one come around here filling me face in. Morning to me, Jesus, there to your dead star. Nice to see you, me love. Nice to see you, me love. Do you want some Lucky Heather? Oh, you can't beat a bit of Lucky Heather. Go on, son, be lucky, be lucky. You've all had it. I love them. I always have a good chat with them when they're selling Lucky Heather. Yeah, you can't beat that little dandelion in that silver foil. Let me tell you, brings you a lot of luck. It really does. Let's pull this up. So look, big shout out this morning. My friends asked me if I can put a shout out. If anybody knows Sasha Stone of Earth United, Sasha Stone is a former, I think he's a rock star. I'm not too sure what band he was in. The police going, come away from the scene, please. Come away from the scene. There's nothing going on here. Just a few Romans having it out with one another. I think someone shagged their brother's sister. Yeah, come on, move along. Nothing to see here. Come on, move along. We're the plantation owners. Nothing to see. I'll show you the video in a minute. It's going to be funny. So, yeah. Morning, everybody. Lovely to see you. Put my hands up. I've just been out for cycling and been on the boxing bag. So I'm going to have half hour in here. Let my shoulders settle down. And then do some weights. So yeah, bit of a Sasha Stone. I've got a bit of a video to bring you this morning as well. We're going to be doing a bit of screen sharing. I think the fight's over. They're all walking away now. Yeah, fight's over. Fight's done. Yeah, the fight's done. Yeah, we've done the fight. Oh my God. I don't understand what's going on in this country. Do you? This car's trying to get through. Yeah. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry to stop you. There's a big fight just gone on. Yeah. My sister's cousins just beat her mother up. Yeah. Fucking hell, what are we doing? Morning, Debbie Starr. Lovely to see you. I'm just calming down. I've been exercising for about the last hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm a bit puffed right now. Bit puffed. So yeah, if anyone knows Sasha Stone, could you ask him to get in touch with us or send him this video? I need to put him in touch with someone, and I know a lot of you are very connected with people around the world, around the country. So if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Morning, Kenny Mac. Lovely to see you. Right, so. Let me go. I'm going to just disappear into my studio a second. Let's come back here. I want to play a little video for you, and you might get a bit of a feeling of this video of where we are currently in our world sphere of what's going on. I need to see. Oh, hang on a second. Bear with me. Oh, dear. What a morning. I've been busy. Sunday, it is not the Sabbath. Remember, the Sabbath is a Saturday. You're all going, what? Right, so let me get this up. I'm going to play this to you. I'm just going to pause out a second. Right, so I need to come back in and do some screen sharing. And this might explain quite a few things to you. I hope it does. Of the things Kelly Cole's ringing me. Kel, I'll give you a ring in a minute. Can someone get a message to Kelly Cole? Tell her I'm on a live feed. Kelly's ringing me. Kel?
Yeah?
I'm just doing a live stream on YouTube. Can I bell you back in a bit? No, unless you want to be part of this. Do you want to be part of it?
Oh, no, you're all right.
Oh.
No, not safe.
Oh, all right, Tom. I'll give you a bell back in a bit. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good. What, you going through YouTube?
Yeah, I'm on my YouTube channel. Come and jump on.
Yeah, I know, but I ain't been up long.
It don't matter. No one cares. Just come and watch or join in. It's up to you.
I'll see, yeah?
All right.
I'll go and get dressed.
All right. She's going to go and get dressed to watch YouTube. She can't watch YouTube naked. You can't. She's got standards. Kelly Cole's got standards. Love it to see you all. Joni, hello, sweetheart. Nice to see you. Golden guest. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man. Yeah. So listen, this might make a little bit of sense to you lot. I'm coming in here for a little interlude this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I ain't screen sharing, am I? Let's screen share. There's always something going on in this media lark. I tell you. Right, so we're screen sharing. Let's flip that around so it's bigger. Hopefully you can all see that. I'm just going to tune into my YouTube channel so I can see what you are seeing right now. Yeah, we'll get this thing on the road. This is the reason really why I come in here this morning, is to put a shout out to Sasha Stone. If anyone can get hold of Sasha and ask him to make contact, or if they can get me his contact details, that'd be great. I'd love to put him in touch with a friend of mine who's got a fantastic idea. And what we're going to do now is we're going to watch this little 15-minute documentary, okay? And get a handle on. Let's actually mute my mic. No, actually, no. I'll do that in a second, I think. So I want you to watch this, all right? And this might give you a bit of a lever of where we all are now, and it explains quite a bit, in fairness, of why I do what I do, because some of us in this world have seen, what's coming, what the future holds, and we don't like it. So we've been making a lot of strides for a lot of years to get change. And what's going on in the world right now is the New World Order's, I think, last-ditch attempt to try and maintain some grip on their control. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to fail miserably, and the world is going to turn on them. Let me tell you. Big time, like you've got no tomorrow. Trust me, I know these things to be true. So anyway, we'll get stuck into this.
Who can say just when it all began? The kings of Babylon, the pharaohs of Egypt, the Byzantine emperors, or the rise of the House of Wettin with the Holy Roman Empire. All those beginnings are lost in the mists of time. Its end is upon us and shall be celebrated for 1,000 years to come.
Amen.
So just how did we get ourselves into this? How did we allow things to get to this point? Just as a frog tossed into boiling water would cry out and do everything in its power to escape the water that burns it, perhaps if our current situation had come about swiftly, we too would have cried out and put an end to the tyranny. But when executed over a period of 1,000 years or more, we have grown accustomed to the heat. Like the frog whose water is slowly boiled, we sit here complacently, taking the pain and trying desperately to suppress the persistent intuition that life need not be so fraught with suffering. Sometimes this inborn insight rises momentarily to the surface, and we indignantly cry out against the latest senseless war in the Middle East, or the plight of those ravaged by disease or starvation, knowing that some nameless Arabs never really posed us any real threat, or that a lack of food and medicine was never the real problem. The more discerning amongst us delve a little deeper and see beneath the shiny veneer that the mainstream media present to us. They catch glimpses of the world outside the box and stumble upon the questions from which there's no coming back. Can it possibly be that our greatest experts are unaware of the dangers of injecting the population at large with known toxins, along with substances that open the blood-brain barrier, when the idea of using mercury to fill people's teeth was put forward? Was there really not a single person amongst our so-called specialists that came forward to point out that mercury is the most toxic non-radioactive element known to man, and that placing it in our mouths would be a terrible mistake? That toxic fluoride would not be good to put in our drinking water? That lead in petrol would not put millions of tons of a highly toxic substance into our atmosphere and environment? That known excitotoxins that destroy our neurons and central nervous systems would not be a good way to flavor our foods? That high-frequency radiation-emitting devices known to destructure water, strip electrons from cells, and damage DNA would be a bad idea to carry around in everyone's pocket? That things that would normally cause cancer in a healthy person are the best means we have to treat people with cancer, whilst non-toxic, benign plants with anti-cancer properties and no dangerous side effects should be heavily restricted to the point of being illegal, with severe penalties for possession and use. And on it goes. When one begins to scratch the surface, it's really not hard to see what drives the conspiracy theorists. For as time passes, conspiracy theory becomes conspiracy fact. The trance of the masses is indeed deep, for who in their right minds can ignore one of the greatest presidents of all times who warned us explicitly?
We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
And we all know what happened to him. Ironically enough, the term conspiracy theorist began to gain serious traction only in the wake of Kennedy's death, with the explosion of independent thinkers who could clearly see that the official lone shooter story just didn't add up. As damage control, the CIA sent a directive to all of its bureaus titled Countering Criticism of the Warren Report, whose aim was to provide material countering and discrediting the claims of the conspiracy theorists, by such means as alleging that parts of the conspiracy talk appeared to be deliberately generated by communist propagandists, as well as to employ propaganda assets to negate and refute the attacks of the critics. Hand in hand with the rise of the elite cabal behind this monstrous conspiracy came the rise of the conspiracy theorists, who began to see the undeniable outward signs of their secret plans. All those who questioned the official narrative were tarnished with the term conspiracy theorist, a term that the CIA's propaganda efforts had made synonymous with anti-American, communist, crazy, and dangerous. But as the plans for a new world order became more brazen and undeniable, so too did the army of awakened conspiracy theorists grow. Once upon a time, the common folk were more easily led. Over the centuries, the cabal's grip on power proceeded slowly but steadily, directing and contriving events from the shadows, and through a hidden network of secret societies that took over the banking system and set nation against nation in order to weaken them and drive them into debt. It bought out the important newspapers, publishers, and media outlets, so as to ensure that everyone followed the prescribed narrative. They even developed their own controlled oppositions, so as to give the public the illusion of free choice and allow them to feel the possibility of rebellion. But even this was guided by their hidden hand. They developed technologies that could be monetized and suppressed those that couldn't. They monopolized the petroleum and oil industry and cheated us into believing this natural resource to be limited and scarce, so as to manipulate and inflate its price. They took over healthcare by undermining all methods except allopathic medicine, which is where the big money could be found, and that they monopolized. They took control of our food through the consolidation of agriculture into monstrous multinational corporations that poisoned our food and biosphere with known toxins and carcinogens, and fed us pain and terror through factory-farmed livestock, whose treatment no living being should ever have to endure. They bought the politicians they needed to control the world's key nations, and those that couldn't be bought were blackmailed or assassinated. They contrived events and so-called accidents to further their agenda and remove those who opposed their plans, and then flooded the world with propaganda to ensure the dominant narrative was kept. They infiltrated and subverted maritime commercial law to create a new jurisdiction of admiralty law, and then used the birth certificate to register us as chattel and steal our estates through the unwitting acquiescence of our parents. They capsulized our names to create commercial vehicles for their system, a method the Romans used to strip all rights from their slaves, and we, knowing no better, went along with it and assumed that the name was ours. As they edged closer and closer to their end game, they began to emerge from the shadows, and their hubris led them to speak openly of their intentions. What they hadn't realized were the enemies that they had made en route to world domination, and little did they know that one of their boldest moves yet would consolidate their enemies into an alliance whose common goal was to stop their plan at any cost. The events of September the 11th, 2001 were executed by them for many reasons. But
Check this out. Listen to this.
Is that on that day, they pulled off a gold heist of monumental proportions. Before the communist revolution in China in the late 40s, several of the dynastic royal families who knew what was coming fled the country with their immense fortunes. Many tons of their gold was held in vaults under the Twin Towers and was due for repatriation on the 12th of September. The blatant theft of this gold angered some very ancient and powerful dynasties and led to the consolidation of an alliance to take down the cabal who had simply grown too big for their boots.
Amen.
Until that day, there were a number of different groups on the world stage vying for power and defending their own interests. But 9/11 was ample proof to all of them that one group, the Illuminati, the deep state, the cabal, call them what you will, would stop at nothing to achieve complete world domination. For the first time, the other groups knew that they could either work together to take down a common enemy, or that this enemy would overrun them all. And so began the formulation of the plan by this worldwide coalition we shall call the Alliance. Love him or hate him, essential to this plan was the election into the most powerful post on the planet of a man who was not a part of the corrupt elite, not a member of their secret societies, a man who had no need for fame or fortune, for he already had both. For years, agencies like the NSA had become weaponized against the people so as to surveil and monitor our every movement and communication. Little did they know that this whole worldwide infrastructure would be turned against them when Trump came to power in 2016. As the presidency of the most powerful country on the planet fell into the hands of the Alliance, the hunters became the hunted, and all of their sordid secrets and the fully documented evidence of their despicable crimes against humanity could be used against them.
Amen.
In reaction to this great loss, the cabal turned their media empire loose, and so began an information war, the most brutal and desperate attack on a sitting president that the world has ever seen. As their pillars of control began to fall one by one, and their strongholds were neutralized, the ferocity of this attack only increased, spreading outright lies, instigating false impeachments, and baseless accusations of collusion against the man who was at the forefront of undoing all that they had worked so hard to achieve, so as to bring about their perdition.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
One by one, their main sources of income were destroyed. Saudi Arabia was cleansed of corrupt players and their trillion-dollar petroleum monopoly taken from them. Their control of the worldwide drug trade was dismantled, as was their lucrative and reprehensible network of child and human trafficking. And the fraudulent Federal Reserve banking system was effectively abolished by placing it under the jurisdiction of the US Treasury. Under the protection of the Alliance, other countries who had been held hostage by them shook off their hijackers to embrace freedom, and decades-long projects to consolidate the cabal's power began to crumble and fall. The good news is that the Alliance, the good, the true, and the beautiful, have already won. We are currently witnessing the checkmate. There is nothing more that can be done. There is nowhere left for them
I
to
like
go.
this bit. It sends a
They
chill.
know this,
Boom!
and yet the game is still in play. As a last-ditch effort to gain the upper hand, they have engaged their scorched earth policy, a military strategy that aims to destroy anything and everything that might be useful to the enemy. To wreak chaos and destruction is all they can do as they are slowly rounded up and arrested. Hence the plandemic, the rioting and looting, the dividing tactics of race baiting and political extremism, the absurd attempts to curtail and restrict our freedoms, and the incessant fear-mongering. We are currently witnessing the death throes of the legacy system, and it's not a pretty sight. Much like an abused child, when their abuser has been locked up or killed, the ramifications of the abuse lingers. What must be done to move forward is to heal from the wounds. There are still many people who are unaware of the abuse that has been perpetrated against humanity. They are still deeply dependent on a false worldview perpetuated by the education systems and propaganda machine of the cabal. Like in the movie, being unplugged from the Matrix is a traumatic experience if done too quickly. In fact, most will kick and scream so as to maintain their false ideas intact. They will vehemently attack all those who attempt to awaken them from the comfort of their slumber. Be patient, develop compassion in dealing with these people.
Amen.
Realize that they are like the abused child. Tenderness and understanding are paramount.
Amen.
If you are genuine in your desire to help, you must do what it takes and not allow your desire to be right to overpower your desire to do what's right.
Amen.
We are on the verge of a golden age of unprecedented proportions. All aspects of our society are being re-engineered. The solutions are already there. Many have been suppressed for 100 years or more. A free and fair monetary system, independent free energy devices, non-invasive medical interventions that can effectively do away with all illness, sustainable clean water and food production methods. This is the inheritance of humanity, born of the collective effort of mankind over thousands of years of toil and struggle. Deep down, we have always known that this was possible. Many of us have looked with disbelief at modern society with a profound intuition of our potential, puzzled at how we could have got it so terribly wrong. We didn't. We were tricked and deceived. We assumed that others had a conscience like the one that keeps our own actions in check. We let cold, heartless psychopaths take control of almost everything, and we paid the price heavily for our mistake. Now with the deceivers out of the way, let's see just what we are capable of. The place is here, and the time is now.
Wake up, Neo.
There is much to do to reverse the wrongs and make them a right. So, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? Yeah. Oh, man. Let me tell you, that is one of the finest things I have witnessed and seen for a long time. I see that and I had chills running. And guys and girls, what you'll find is when you start vibrating in the truth and in the light, when a frequency comes along and checks you, you'll feel it. You will feel it run through every fiber of your body. And I did with that video. So that pretty much is it in a nutshell, as far as I'm concerned, that I see what is going on right now as the final throes of the deep state cabal trying to hang on to whatever it is that they're hanging on to. We will go into a new future. We will see 1,000 years of greatness. I promise you. I absolutely promise you 100% we are going into 1,000 years of greatness. And listen, who in their right mind wouldn't want that? I have always strived to be I don't pick sides. I don't pick people. I will help them with bailiffs, single mothers with children. I will help people with court cases. I will help people that have been wronged. and been victims of this state party, and that I will do with all of my heart. I really will. If you have any issues with the state, regardless of position, rank, authority, I want to make something clear right here and now. And that is the only crime that happens to you from anybody in the state is that of trespass. Okay. And I want you to bear in mind that you cannot make a claim against a Mr., a doctor, a lord, a PC, a judge. You just can't. But what you can do is you can make a claim against the man or woman acting in the capacity of officer, as constable, as nurse, as doctor. And that is remedy for trespass. And what you need to do, if you really want to silence any of these people that work in this and think they have authority, is just require a couple of things from them when they start coming at you. Is that you find out who the CEO is of a bailiff company, and you just write, I require, say, let's say Matt Hancock, I require Matt Hancock acting, the man Matt Hancock acting in the capacity of whatever it is that provide remedy for the trespass against my soul and spirit, and you just require their birth certificate bond number. And there's going to be a lot of people in the cabal jumping up and down this morning because we're giving you this information, all right? You have to claim on their estates, their fictional estates, okay? But there are a lot of these people in the private, they're pretty much in the private, Boris Johnson, etc. But you can make a claim on their estate and fiction. You can do, and they have to have bonds. They have to be insured for all this loss. So you just simply require their birth certificate number, which is the bond number, and then you can get your remedy through that. And they will really start to take a different view on things. We've got a bit of an issue at the minute with the Black Lives Matter people. They seem to be having a bit of a dig at Abraham Lincoln, who former president of America. And Abraham Lincoln, in my understanding and understanding, is very similar to JFK, John F. Kennedy. And in as much as John F. Kennedy was he tried to shine a light on these secret dark Kabbalists, all right, and he was shot for it, and so was Abraham Lincoln shot. Abraham Lincoln tried to bring in his own greenback currency. So did JFK try to bring in their own currency rather than going through the Federal Reserve. And I want you to understand one thing, that this man that you're watching on the TV right now, President Donald Trump, I think he's the 43rd or 45th president of America. I don't really keep up with what goes on out there, but he has taken control of the Federal Reserve and placed limits on it. One thing's for sure is that I was approached quite a few years ago by a guy who was a retired CID man. I'm not going to mention any names, but he, let's just say his first name was Ray. And Ray said, did I want to get involved with the Chinese dynasties, the dragon families, because what you got to understand about the Chinese dynasties, the dragon families, the Chinese created the first money presses, all right? They were the first people to create paper currency. They created the first printing presses, all right, the Chinese. Now, as you see, they were due to be paid back, repatriated with their gold on September the 12th, 2001, and that never happened. So the Chinese dynasties and the Chinese elders, who are very, 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 very powerful people, they said, right, enough is enough, and they started forming this alliance. And I was approached if I wanted to get into it and get involved, and at the time I was quite unsure, and I did feel as though I was that was a little bit above my pay grade, so gracefully declined. However, I would support them for sure, and I now fully understand the reason why that the Chinese decided that enough was enough and they had to bring back some decent stuff. And that was because of the failing of having their gold repatriated to them on 2001, September the 12th. Now, there are a lot of media out there that are slamming the Chinese. And what you got to understand is this Wuhan illness, coronavirus, whatever it is this is all being fueled and led by the mainstream media. Okay. And I have to say, hold on, heart, I do not trust the mainstream media in any way, shape or form. So I would suggest that the Chinese people are in as pretty much of the same kind of grip as the rest of us people in this country and in the Western Hemisphere in general, in as much as the things that I talk about in my news broadcasts would never, ever be shown via the mainstream BBC, ITV, Channel 4 media outlets. It just would not happen. You wouldn't even see it on Dave TV. How's about that? So there is an alliance. We know that President Trump has formed a great relationship with Korea and ended this so-called feud that had been going on between North and South Korea with America for a long, long, long time. And Donald Trump is seriously, I think he is, my heart tells me he is pulling levers. This Dr. Fauci that you're just seeing on your screen now someone's just took a picture of him on holiday with his wife, sunbathing, no mask on. His mask all dangling down. These people are puppets, ladies and gentlemen, and we're all being played. So it's very easy for the mainstream media because, as I've said, and I've been saying for many, many years, back in the 70s, when I was living in Peckham, growing up as a young youth man, the first thing that come on really cheaply available on credit, everything back in the 70s, credit went wild, and we all really, Dr. Fawcett, did you see that? I like that. Credit seemed to be this real funky new thing, and it was pretty good back then because credit was, if something was 80 quid, for TV was 60 to 80 quid. What you could do is then pay that off over a period of months at very sort of little interest rate, and until that was done, and then all bets was off, and you'd get your original credit slip back. Okay, so times have changed, but now when you get credit from a bank, they give you nothing. All you're signing for is for them to press their magic keys on their computer. The banks actually have no tangibility. They have no assets. They just have the ability to press print on the money presses, and it's a really dangerous situation to be in. Morning, Auntie Mandy. Lovely to see you. Afternoon all. We're just coming up to the 12 o'clock midday. So yeah, they just press print, guys and girls, and the easiest way with a bank is to get them to show you their audited accounts of where they took something that they had in hard tangibility and lent it to you. Because what should happen if someone lends you something, there should be an agreement drawn up, and then once that agreement is fully furnished and you've paid back that credit agreement, then you should get that original loan note back. All right, that's true credit. However, you do not get the original note back from the bank when you settle your mortgage. I'm very fortunate to be mortgage free and settled all my mortgages over 10 years ago because I've worked very, very hard. And as a consequence, my body's taken a bit of a beating while I'm training nowadays to try and maybe repair the damage of all the years of working too hard. And I'm making great steps going forward in that. And what the training is doing me, it's giving me fantastic mental clarity. It's keeping me focused, and it's keeping my energy levels really, really, really high. As you can see, all this mask stuff is just peculiar. We've got a little child here. Look, no mask on in the middle of two kids. Unbelievable. And I'm not too sure you're going to see President Trump wear a mask. I've not seen any evidence of. I could be wrong. I could stand corrected, and if you have any evidence, but I have not seen on screen Donald Trump wearing a mask at any time. Bearing in mind, this is the president that turned his back on the World Health Organization and stopped funding them, and the Americans were the biggest funder of the World Health Organization. Dr. Fauci was big with, and why England hasn't followed suit and followed our American brothers and sisters, I really don't know. Soon they won't have to press print. No, they won't. And they're going for this cashless society. And whilst all the gurus out there, all these young, hippie, cool people, oh, yes, I'm so down, man. I've got my mocha chocolate, yes, and I'm eating my caramel salted bar. I'm so zhuzh, you know, and I'm sat here reading the Financial Times. I'm just so wonderfully entitled. I'm not too sure they're going to feel so entitled when at some point their bank switches them off and they're all fighting each other for a bit of food. That's not going to be such a cool look. And that will come, ladies and gentlemen. That will come. Now, I want to play you this. This is a bit biblical, all right? But bear with me. This is a 5-minute video on an illustrated, because I guarantee you that we are in revelatory times, okay? Absolute revelatory times. And I want you to watch this if I can find it. I watched it yesterday and it made a lot of sense. It is 5 minutes. Who's that idiot there? That's me. This is a 5-minute video. Let me find it. I did watch it. Look at me checking out all my golf videos. I'm a terror for golf. I love golf. The Mark of the Beast. We're almost at, oh, by the way, have you seen Mike Tyson? Whoever's going to fight Mike Tyson, let me tell you, playing with fire. This is, I talk a lot about the 144,000, okay? Now, I got shammed on a woman's channel, and this individual said, "You're such an idiot, David. It is the chosen ones, the Jews, that are the 144,000. Well, sorry, that don't truck with me. And we'll watch that one in a minute. But this is the first 5 minutes of Revelation. You're going to enjoy this if you like a bit of biblical stuff. I'm deeply into the Bible, and it gives me the power and strength to do what I do. But I truly believe that the 144,000, as mentioned in Revelation, are definitely not solely Jews. I'm not suggesting that there aren't a proportion of Jewish people that will be part of that, because God doesn't differentiate between who's Jew, who's not. Trust me, all creations are in his light and in his image. So I don't think he really brought anyone into the world to be of a special people, and all this talking about the Jews, bless them, being the chosen ones, to me is just a load of nonsense. I think we're all special. Light workers, 144,000. So let's just have a little look of this. This is the 144,000, okay?
Of Revelation. This is a chart that I painted about, 25 years ago when I was teaching the book of Revelation. I paint a little bit each week and display.
It won't be too painful. It's only 5 minutes.
Work our way all the way through it over a period of about 6 months, actually, at that time. We won't take that long this time. So you're going to see the book of Revelation as a whole. You hear a lot of parts of it, but you're going to see it just as God intended for you to. So this is the book of Revelation. Notice the scroll here, the book of Revelation, and it ends here. So from here to here is the book of Revelation. Now we have down here drawings of what is described in the book of Revelation. Then up here is what's happening as the Bible describes it in heaven in the book of Revelation. Down here is what's happening in the earth, in hell, in the bottomless pit, and the lake of fire as it's happening. Now it's divided into 3 basic parts. The book of Revelation divides itself into 3 parts. First of all,
thanks for tuning in.
3, you have the 7 churches of Asia mentioned. And then in chapter 4, beginning in verse 1, the rapture takes place. At that point, you have the 7 sealed book is opened. The 7 sealed book is a book that God has in heaven, and here it is when it's completed. So this represents the great body through chapter 20 of the book, or up to chapter 20 of the book of Revelation. So all that is described in the book of Revelation from chapter 4 to chapter 20 is listed right here. And this is a drawing, a painting of the individual things that take place. Now I have the verse markings, 8:5, 8:7, 8:8, 8:10, where each of those events take place. So this gives you the scriptural references for all of these things. Now, this period of time right here that you see is called the present age. It's the age in which you and I now live. It begins, and I don't know if you can see that, but with the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection of Christ begins this present age, the church age, the age of the Spirit. Some people call it the age of grace, although God's always been gracious.
Amen.
And then inside of that is the church age, beginning on the day of Pentecost, going to the rapture. This oval represents the church age. And then underneath it, you see the Jews scattered, and then they're brought back, and the Jews return right here, and that takes place right after the rapture.
And they've already done that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Being raised, raptured up to heaven, where we will be around the throne of God with the 24 elders seated, the 4 living creatures around the throne, the 4 beasts. There'll be the judgment seat of Christ, where we'll be given 1 or more of 5 different crowns. And then there'll be a 7-year period in which we will reside in heaven, and the marriage of the Lamb will take place at the end of those 7 years. Christ comes back with the second coming on a white horse and destroys the...
So there's 4 horses of the apocalypse. And what we must make sure is that the white one crosses the line first. All right? Does that make sense to you guys? It's not nothing to do with racialism or skin color. It is the horse of Christ. It is the white knight. So we have to make sure that the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse is that the white one gets over the line first.
The nations in a final world war. And at that point, a new age of ages, as it's called in the scripture, begins.
Amen.
That is when the kingdom of heaven that John preached actually comes to the earth, and heaven rules the earth for 1,000 years. That's the 1,000-year millennial reign.
Doesn't that sound lovely? Oh, I'm getting shivers, man.
Of Christ on the earth. Revelation 20, verse 4. At the end of that 1,000 years, the bottomless pit is opened up. The unsaved dead come up out of it, stand in the great white throne judgment, are judged, and are cast back into the lake of fire, and that's called the second death.
Amen.
Then the earth is destroyed. Peter says the elements melt with a fervent heat. God creates a new heavens, which is this little cube here, called the New Jerusalem, and a new earth. He creates a new heavens.
Now, 3 years ago, briefly, I started a group up on Facebook called the New Jerusalem, and it's beautiful. And you can see the cubits in the profile picture. So if you haven't joined the New Jerusalem on Facebook, please do, and I'll accept you. So this is giving me a little bit of shivers right now.
Heavens and a new earth, and then the New Jerusalem comes down and sits on the earth, where it will abide forever on this new earth. There'll be no more seas on the new earth to accommodate the large number of people that have been saved throughout history, so that each one of us will be able to have, as the Bible says, our own fig tree. We'll all sit under our own fig tree, and the climate will be changed on the earth. This new earth will have a perfect climate all the way around, and it'll be a garden of paradise. Amen. And that begins eternity right there. So that's a quick overview of the book of Revelation. Now, in part 2, we'll go into it in a little bit more detail. You can get this chart, by the way.
Oh, hello.
From No Greater Joy Ministries. We photographed it, and it's a lot more clearer there than it's about that long. From No Greater Joy Ministries. We photographed it, and it's a lot more clearer there than what you'd see it here with the lights reflecting off of the canvas and whatnot. Yes, and
So that's the book of Revelation in 5 minutes. Thanks for staying tuned for that. I know a lot of you find the biblical stuff very enduring, and I'll tell you for why. The reason why a lot of people shun it is because they've been turned away from it, okay? Because it's the truth and it is the freedom. This is why it's been taken off the curriculum, taken out of schools. You cannot talk about it in the streets anymore without getting arrested by the satanic Babylonian police farce. Now, when please tell me, whenever did preaching the good book or speaking from the good book with honesty and sincerity ever be categorized as a crime? Okay, when did that ever take place? So, who are the 144,000 in Revelation? Okay, so we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this, which hopefully will end up today's little morning session.
Many interpreters understand the reference to be literal. After all, it lists 12 tribes of the sons of Israel, and he lists 12,000 from each tribe. I think to many people, it seems clear from that we have a literal reference to a literal 144,000 and that they're literally from Israel. And I have respect for that view. However, I don't think that view is convincing.
Amen.
I would actually argue that 144,000 is a symbolic number, and that the reference to the 12 tribes of Israel is also symbolic, and it represents the church, or another way to put it is that it represents all believers.
There you
Why
go.
do I think that?
Boom.
The first reason is the way chapter 6 ends. Chapter 6 ends with a statement of God's wrath that is coming upon the world. And the author tells us, and who is able to stand?
Yeah.
Who is able to stand when God's wrath is poured out? That's the question. And I think chapter 7 answers that question. Those who are able to stand are those who are sealed or protected by God. And those who are sealed and protected by God are the 144,000.
Amen.
And I think it's most natural to say that refers to all Christians. Secondly, the 144,000, they're not only described in Revelation chapter 7, but we also see them described in Revelation chapter 14. And there, the 144,000 are described as the redeemed of the earth.
Amen.
So that's a description of the 144,000. And I think that's a comprehensive description. That's what it means to be a Christian. They're not described as Israel, but the redeemed. So thirdly, we find a very fascinating parallel in chapter 7 and chapter 5 between hearing and seeing. So in chapter 5, he hears, John, the writer, hears about the Lion of the tribe of Judah, but when he looks and sees, he sees a lamb. So that's very interesting. Jesus is the Lion, the Son of David, who conquers, but he conquers, John is telling us, by his death.
That's exactly what he did.
So the lion and the lamb are the same referent, right? They both refer to Jesus. So how does that relate to chapter 7? John hears about 144,000, but he sees, that's verses 1 through 8 of chapter 7, but he sees in verses 9 through 17 a great multitude. So do you see the parallel with chapter 5? It's
in 2.
It's the same sort of thing. What he hears and sees is the same entity told from two different perspectives. You have Jesus as a lion and the lamb. The 144,000, another way to describe them is the uncountable multitude. But that's another argument then, that the 144,000 refer to all Christians. The 144,000, or another way of saying it is they're an uncountable multitude, which leads to my fourth argument. The number is symbolic. So in Revelation and apocalyptic literature, you have symbolic numbers. So you have the number 12, just as there were 12 tribes of Israel, and there's 12 apostles. And then you have 12 times 1,000, 144,000. Sometimes people don't recognize the symbolic nature of 12 times 12 because we may not do that multiplication in our minds. But I think the author, John, is clearly signaling that he's writing symbolically. Fifth reason. In chapter 2, verse 9, and in chapter 3, verse 9, the Jews are called a synagogue of Satan. Now, John didn't say that because he hates Jews. John was Jewish himself. I think he says that because the Jews were cooperating with the Romans. The Jews in these synagogues were cooperating with the Romans, and they were informing the Romans that the Christians weren't part of them, and therefore the Christians should be persecuted. So it's just John's way of saying the Jews, these Jewish unbelievers, not all Jews, right? But Jewish unbelievers are opposed to the people of God. But at the same time, chapter 7, the true Jews is the church of Jesus Christ. And this is what we see elsewhere in the New Testament. Who are the true children of Abraham? We can read Galatians 3, read Romans 4. The true children of Abraham are those who believe in Jesus Christ, both Jew and Gentile. We belong to one family now. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 11 through 22. So what I'm saying here is what John is teaching with 144,000. This is what we find often in the New Testament, that the church is the fulfillment of the promises made to Israel. It's not a rejection of Israel, but it's a fulfillment of what Israel was meant to be.
Amen.
But it's Jew and Gentile together as one people of God. The sixth argument. When you actually look at the list of the 12 tribes there, that list doesn't fit with any list we see in the Old Testament. There is nowhere in the Old Testament that the 12 tribes are listed this way. In fact, the tribe of Dan is omitted in the list. So what does it mean to say these 12 tribes are the 12 tribes of Israel when it doesn't represent any kind of list of the tribes we see in the Old Testament? And I think it's very significant that the tribe of Judah is listed first.
The reason why I'm playing this, ladies and gentlemen, is to let you guys know that if you are trying to do good things in this world right now, if you're caring for your brothers and sisters and their demise and you wish to do something about it, which I have done for years, then that means, whether you like it or not, that you're actually in the spirit. All right. Now, when you're in the spirit, that means you're part of the 144,000, because if you couldn't care less, then you would not be in the spirit, because your spirit is the thing and your soul is the same thing. It's what makes you react to the bad stuff. All right. Exactly what makes you react to the bad stuff. And when you see bad things happen by people, the agents of the system, and it enthralls you and it makes you want to do something positive, then that is basically what that is. If you didn't have the spirit, then you wouldn't feel that emotion. You wouldn't have them feelings of, why are they doing that? I must stop this. Okay. Whether you believe in it or you don't, it doesn't really matter. It's your resonance. It's your resonance that matters. Okay. If you look, all I know is that the system is hinge-pinned on that book. All right. The Queen, when she was coronated, you can't be a bit of coronation chicken, can you? The Queen was coronated. She said that she swore that this was the most precious gift the world had ever been afforded. Now, that's the Queen of England and the Kings of England all swore to uphold that law. And that's why what happened with the judge the other day with my friend is that the judge dishonoured his oath to Queen Elizabeth, the defender of the faith. Queen Elizabeth is the first defender of the faith. The Queen must protect that book with all of her might. So what is there about that book that makes these people have this reverence for it? You know, everything must be revealed, but slowly. It takes, and that's all I'm doing. I just tried to explain who and what the 144,000 is. The Jewish people themselves, bless them, will call everybody else around the world goyim. They deem us as goyim, as cattle. But that's not the case. And for them, they have a book called the Torah. And the Torah is the Old Testament. It's Noahide law. It's what Noah and all that. They looked at Christ as a heretic. And so that's why they spit when you say Jesus' name, blah, 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 blah. But they truly believe that they're chosen ones. Well, sorry, but we're all chosen. She lied her way, she's a commoner. Well, that could be the case. And where is the Queen? Nowhere to be seen. Buckingham Palace is boarded up with some lame excuse of it being a refurb job. But that's not the case, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you now, as someone that's sort of been in the real world for a long time, when you refurb a property, the last thing you do, unless it's under attack by criminality, is you don't board the windows up, because you need the natural sunlight in for the workers working in there, and you need to be able to see things in the natural daylight during the daytime and see how they look during the day and how they look during the night. It would be a very dark, depressing place to renovate Buckingham Palace for 10 years with every single window boarded up. Now, all windows in Buckingham Palace currently are boarded up, ladies and gentlemen. All the Queen's Guards are gone. They have Gurkhas and the police there. What is going on? There is something really weird, deep and sinister going on surrounding the whole thing. And there are a few people at the top that seem to be changing the world that probably know the answers to these questions right now. But she will not be back there. No, she won't. The Queen will never sit in Buckingham Palace again. I can't see it happening. Look at Prince Andrew. Look at what's surrounding Prince Andrew. We know that Ghislaine Maxwell, now her files must be open. They must go under indictment. And it absolutely compromises Prince Andrew. I guarantee this to be coming. And if I was Prince Andrew right now, I'd have really bumpy, squeaky bum cheeks. I really would. You're scaring me, auntie. Babies are born all around the world saying 5 Hebrew words. You're scaring me, auntie. They weren't the Gurkhas, it was the RF regiment. Okay. Davey knows his onions. He's been tying his onions up this morning and all. So, right, ladies and gentlemen, the link to that video is, I'll take you back there. I'll show you what it is. It's called oh, actually, I can't because you're not in that. Let's just share this out again. So you can see, I'll show you the link so you can go and watch that. It's called The End of Days, D-A-Z-E, A Brief History of the Rise and Fall of the Cabal. It's by May Bug Productions, okay? It's 15 minutes and 15 seconds long. It is fantastic. I watched it this morning and just felt compelled to come in here and share it with you. If any of you have got any contact details for Sasha Stone and you can by any way, by grace, let him know that I'd like to talk to him and get hold of him, and I've got a friend that's very interested in putting something across to him, that would be most gracious. I did say to my friend that I would do these things, okay? So yeah, I will see you all very, very soon. I've just had a saucy message from AJ in Hollywood, Illuminated Expedition. I'm not going to repeat it here because it's a saucy boy. So yeah, I will catch you all very soon. Have great weekends. Remember, we are going forward into a new time. We've just got to get rid of all this craziness right now. And it is crazy right now. It really is. What's going on out there in the world is absolutely ludicrous. But we will see the promised land, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, I'll make no bones about that. I can feel it. It is coming. So look, stay blessed, stay safe, stay loved, stay wise, and stay switched on. Must stay switched on. 59 minutes and 4 seconds. I love doing these hour slots. I'll see you all very soon. Thank you for your content. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Press the bell button for further notifications. If you want to join the show, just say, I can share you out the link for this StreamYard, and you can come in and we can do split screen and just have a very nice time. I'll see you all soon.